Hello, my name is Shelena Bernard, and I am so pleased to welcome you to our 70th anniversary virtual celebration, 70 years of fighting for justice. I have been a member of Community Legal Aid Board of Directors since 2016, and I am honored to be a part of this wonderful organization dedicated to fighting for justice for all and striving to make real the American ideal of equal justice under the law. I want to thank each of you for participating in our celebration. For over 70 years, CLA has been providing free legal services representing our low-income and elderly neighbors in their fight for life's basic necessities: a place to live, protection from violence, and support for their families. I know firsthand of the life-changing impact that CLA has had on the lives of those they help, as I first became involved with CLA as a client. Over 7 years ago, I needed legal assistance, and CLA Central West Justice Center was there to help me when no one was able to do so. Before CLA, I had many roadblocks and barriers that was preventing me from being able to move forward in my life and living out my dreams. Since CLA and their legal aid assistance, I have been able to go back to school and being implemented back into my community, and I am also a proud member of the Bay State Health Organization. I just want to thank CLA for all their help that they continue to do, not just for me, but for everyone else as well. Thank you, CLA. I am honored to serve on the board of this organization and continue to be impressed with the work that the advocates do on behalf of their clients. I want to thank all of those who have supported us throughout our 70-year history, as well as the sponsors of our 70th celebration. The support of our funders, our local legal community, individual donors, and volunteers is essential to our ability to provide access to justice. Here is a brief overview of the history of Community Legal Aid and its predecessor organizations.
In 1951, a group of attorneys, members, and officers of the Worcester County Bar Association took a bold step in the fight for justice by forming the Legal Aid Society of Worcester to assist worthy persons who are in need to procure legal aid. In 1959, the Legal Aid Society obtains approval to receive funding from the Community Chest of Worcester, now the United Way of Central Massachusetts. This begins a long relationship with many United Ways in our service area that continues today. We are incredibly grateful for this loyal and continued support. In 1972, several legal aid agencies are combined to form Western Mass Legal Services. Over the past 7 decades, the organization has grown and evolved to meet the changing needs of our low-income and elderly neighbors. The Legal Services Corporation LSC Act is signed into law on July 25, 1974. The new law declared that Congress had found there is a need to provide equal access to the system of justice in our nation, and that there is a need to provide high-quality legal assistance to those who would otherwise be unable to afford adequate legal counsel. The Commonwealth establishes the Massachusetts Legal Assistance Corporation in 1983 to ensure that low-income people facing critical non-criminal legal issues would have access to legal information, advice, and representation. MLAC is currently Community Legal Aid's largest provider of funding. In 2011, Western Mass Legal Services merges with the Central Mass Legal Services provider, by then known as the Legal Assistance Corporation of Central Massachusetts, to become Community Legal Aid. A few years later, the staff of the Massachusetts Justice Project joined Community Legal Aid to form the organization we know today. In 2013, responding to the needs of our communities, CLA establishes the Central West Justice Center to focus on cases involving humanitarian-based immigration law. CWJC also houses the statewide Migrant Farm Worker Project, which provides services to the state's low-income agricultural workers and other migrant laborers. The COVID-19 crisis that began in 2020 causes a huge surge in need for our services that continues today as our staff work to help those impacted and in need of food, shelter, and benefits. We continue the fight to protect the rights of students, tenants, unemployed workers, and survivors of domestic violence. We are proud to be celebrating our 70th anniversary and are deeply indebted to all those whose hard work and support have helped us in the fight for justice for over 70 years.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Mannina, Community Legal Aid's Executive Director. Thank you so much for joining us to celebrate CLA's 70th anniversary. In 1951, a group of attorneys from the Worcester County Bar Association did something quite visionary at the time. They created the Legal Aid Society of Worcester to provide legal assistance to those unable to afford an attorney. This startup had no office space, no paid staff, no budget, just a few lawyers volunteering to take cases and help their community. From this humble beginning, we have developed into an organization that now has over 100 employees and spans all of central and western Massachusetts. As we celebrate this legacy, I think it's a great opportunity for us to all look back and reflect on our own histories and the moments that motivated us to dedicate our careers and lives to public service. I was hired as a housing attorney in 1998 by Lackham, one of CLA's predecessors. I had worked in private practice at a plaintiff's side litigation firm for a number of years. It was admirable work, but I wanted to do more to help my community and its most marginalized members. I wanted to try to help people with their basic needs and their fundamental rights, and Legal Aid felt like the place for me. I spent my first few years at Legal Aid representing tenants facing eviction and helping clients who were denied housing for discriminatory reasons. The fair housing work was really eye-opening. I was shocked when I met with desperate people who were denied housing or mistreated because of their race, their family status, disability, or some other factor that really had absolutely nothing to do with their ability to pay rent or be a good tenant. One case that sticks out in my mind, I helped a young man with muscular dystrophy whose landlord refused to allow a ramp to be built, so his family had to disconnect him from his breathing apparatus and carrying him down the steps every time he left the house. It would have been so simple to remedy the situation, but we had to fight in multiple courts for multiple years to get him and his family the justice they deserved. I was hired as Lackham's executive director in 2006. A few years later, after a lot of work, we joined with two other legal aid programs, Western Mass Legal Services and the Mass Justice Project, to become Community Legal Aid, a 5-county program that serves over 7,000 clients each year and covers all of central and western Massachusetts. When I started at Legal Aid, we had around 20 employees working in Worcester. Now we have remarkably 140 staff, and we're one of the largest law firms in our service area. Our core work has always included legal services focused on housing, benefits, domestic relations, and elders, matters of real critical importance to our clients. But I'm also really proud of our ability to remain nimble and respond to changing community needs. We're not a static organization. For instance, over the last several years, we've expanded our services to include humanitarian-based immigration work, education law services for children, and reentry advocacy for formerly incarcerated people trying to get their lives back in order. The last year has been a challenging one for everyone. That's an understatement. However, it's been particularly difficult for our client communities who have faced homelessness, loss of income, and the ongoing effects of structural racism. Notwithstanding all of the personal challenges faced by our staff, I have been incredibly proud of their resilience and their commitment to serving clients through the pandemic. When the entire state was shut down and vaccines were many months away, our immigration attorneys were meeting with clients in person and going to immigration court. With many of our neighbors at risk of homelessness, we accepted the challenge of greatly expanding our housing services. We hired over 25 new people to respond to the housing crisis, and many of our staff stepped up to train and support them. working many hours around the clock. With thousands of our neighbors out of work, our phone lines exploded with calls, and many CLA staff pitched in to handle unemployment cases for the first time on top of their normal workloads. What keeps us all going, I think, is the fact that we can really make a difference in people's lives. Going forward, we will continue to be nimble and respond to changing community needs. We will keep listening to our client communities and adapt to what they need us to do. We'll also do our best to expand our reach so that more people in need can access our services. Unfortunately, we still turn away more than half the people who need our help. Our success over the past 70 years would not have been possible without the hard work and generous support of many, many people and institutions. We are forever grateful to our supporters and the trust they have placed in us. We are also indebted to our staff, past and present. To Ralph Siegel, the first paid legal aid staff attorney in Worcester in the 1950s. To Diane Salmon, who recently retired after having served as an elder law paralegal in Worcester for 40 years. To Millie Ortero, a receptionist who has been greeting clients in our Springfield office for over 40 years. And to the many others who have called community legal aid their home and dedicated their entire life to the service of others. Thank you so much for your support of community legal aid.
Hello, my name is Guinevere Arthur Van Horne, and I am a proud board member of Community Legal Aid. I've served on the board since 2017. And earlier in my career, Community Legal Aid was able to help me to remove barriers and allowed me to pursue my dreams. Not only was I able to graduate with honors from Greenfield Community College, I then went on to Smith College, and this summer was able to finish my master's degree at Bachrach University and have become a physician assistant. I am so honored to introduce our special speaker tonight, Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey. She's currently in her second term as Attorney General, continuing a career spent fighting for justice and equal rights as a people's lawyer. In addition to the many wonderful contributions Attorney General Healey has made to the Commonwealth, she's been a great champion for community legal aid and has helped provide funding that allowed us to expand our work during the foreclosure crisis, increase outreach to veterans, and helped us establish a medical legal partnership at Bay State Medical Center, something I am personally invested in and appreciative of. Attorney General Healey, thank you for helping us celebrate 70 years of fighting for justice.
Hi, everyone. Happy 70th anniversary. I'm so glad to be able to join you all today. Thank you to Guinevere Arthur Van Horne for that introduction, and to Jonathan Mannina, Todd Rodman, and all the board members for such an incredible partnership over the years. Community legal aid is something to be celebrated. Massachusetts is incredibly lucky to have had your services for 70 years and counting. And your work today couldn't be more important as we're facing unprecedented challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. You all have seen the demand. This public health crisis has left our small businesses, workers, students, and tenants struggling. It's had a devastating effect on our economy, particularly on low-income people, leaving them more vulnerable to loss of income, housing, and other benefits. And we know that none have been hit harder than those in our Black, Brown, and immigrant communities who are suffering the greatest economic and health consequences. The mission of community legal aid has been needed more than ever. Legal aid is an essential service. You're on the front lines providing critical care to incredible social safety net needs for vulnerable people, many of whom have been rendered even more vulnerable by this pandemic. When I talk about the Attorney General's office, I like to say that we're the people's law firm. But truth be told, the legal services attorneys are the people's lawyers. Our partnership with legal aid offices, especially yours, is so important to the work we do. We receive thousands of complaints every year, and we rely on legal aid lawyers to take on many cases, representing workers who didn't get paid what they were owed, preventing families from being foreclosed upon, and tenants from being evicted, helping those out of work to navigate the unemployment claims process, working with survivors of domestic violence. Those are just some of the things, and that's just the beginning. The collaboration between the Attorney General's Office and Community Legal Aid has been so successful, and I am so grateful to all of you for that. We're proud to lend you our support and resources and have witnessed incredible results. Establishing the Medical Legal Partnership at Bay State Health in Springfield to assist families facing legal issues during their medical visits. Your work with the Veterans Project that's helped veterans with civil legal matters such as upgrading discharge status. And of course, HomeCore, our incredible, innovative partnership that's assisted thousands of residents and prevented homelessness during the foreclosure crisis. In order for our work and our office to work as well as possible, we need legal aid to be strong, not only to help the many individuals they assist, but also to help us identify and address systemic problems. So thank you to Community Legal Aid for all that you do to help those in greatest need, and congratulations again on 70 years.
Thank you for those thoughtful remarks and for being such a wonderful partner in our fight for justice. CLA is grateful for the support of the partners in our legal community. An important piece of this partnership is the participation of attorneys in our pro bono program.
Hello, my name is Meredith Palmer and I'm the Pro Bono Director at Community Legal Aid. I'm thrilled to be here today as part of the celebration for Community Legal Aid's 70 years of fighting for justice. Here at CLA, I'm part of a dynamic team of pro bono advocates who work tirelessly to connect the legal community with volunteer opportunities that make access to justice real for our clients. When one of our pro bono attorneys accepts a case, they do more than just volunteer their time and expertise. They understand that practicing law is a privilege, and they use that privilege to improve the lives of many, regardless of their ability to pay. I want to take a moment to say thank you to all of our volunteers from over the years. Whether you helped a tenant face an eviction, assisted a client through their divorce, helped another client achieve a bankruptcy discharge, or drafted a will, together you all have donated thousands of hours of pro bono work and made a difference in the lives of many. Today, I want to take the time to recognize two of our volunteers who have particularly stood out for their consistent and unwavering commitment to pro bono work. I am honored to present Community Legal Aid's 70th Anniversary Pro Bono Award to attorneys Rhonda Bachrach of Worcester and attorney Mary Samberg of West Springfield. Since joining our panel in 2015, attorney Rhonda Bachrach has demonstrated exceptional acts of pro bono public service on behalf of Worcester's most vulnerable residents. Since 2018, she individually donated over 250 hours of pro bono service, constituting over 11% of Community Legal Aid's total volunteer hours. A recipient of the prestigious Adams Pro Bono Publico Award in 2019, attorney Bachrach regularly finds the time to volunteer for all of Community Legal Aid's Lawyer for the Day programs, in addition to taking full representation cases in the areas of bankruptcy and family law. Since the pandemic, her pro bono commitment has only deepened, touching the lives of many, while navigating the very challenging times of the pandemic as principal of Bachrach & Bachrach, a small law firm that she runs with her husband. I am honored to present attorney Rhonda Bachrach with CLA's 70th Anniversary Pro Bono Award. I am also pleased to award attorney Mary Samberg with Community Legal Aid's 70th Anniversary Pro Bono Award. Attorney Mary Samberg is a solo practitioner at the law office of Mary A. Samberg, located in West Springfield, Massachusetts. There she practices family law with an emphasis on non-adversarial processes such as mediation and conciliation. Attorney Samberg is one of our longest serving volunteers, joining the Legal Services Pro Bono panel in 1993. For almost 30 years, attorney Samberg has represented low-income residents of Hampden County in the areas of family law, and since 2014 has been one of our most consistent volunteer conciliators in Hampden County. Since 2014, she has assisted with over 60 conciliation and limited assistance representation cases. Attorney Samberg's commitment to pro bono has held steady throughout the pandemic as she quickly volunteered for our recently launched remote conciliation program, all while maintaining her own private practice. It is volunteers like this that keep our program going. Congratulations to attorneys Bachrach and Samberg for their dedication and passion to making justice real for our clients. Thank you again to all of our volunteers. You do this work because you truly believe that all people, regardless of their economic and social circumstances, deserve access to quality legal representation.
I am also honored to introduce Martín Espada, award-winning poet, professor of English at UMass Amherst, and former legal aid attorney. Martín Espada has published over 20 books and was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for the Republic of Poetry.
I am pleased to help Community Legal Aid celebrate their 70th anniversary. As a former legal aid attorney, I understand the unique challenges community legal aid faces working to advocate for our most vulnerable neighbors. Therefore, I am deeply gratified to support this important work. I am also a poet, and I'm going to read a poem called Jumping Off the Mystic Tobin Bridge from my book Floaters. I served as supervisor of Su Clínica Legal, a legal services program for low-income Spanish-speaking tenants in Chelsea, Massachusetts from 1987 to 1993. Now, Chelsea is a tough little town right across the Tobin Bridge from Boston. It's a gateway city, a city of immigrants, always has been. And at that time, the immigrants came from the Spanish-speaking Caribbean, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. They came also from Central America, especially Guatemala and El Salvador. In other words, the same people crossing or trying to cross our southern border today. So this poem speaks to me and the present as well. The second half of the poem deals with the most notorious murder case in the history of Boston, the Chuck Stewart murder case. The poem again is called Jumping Off the Mystic Tobin Bridge. I close my eyes and see him windmilling his arms as he plummets from the Mystic Tobin Bridge to prove me wrong, to show me he was good, to atone for sins like seeds in the lopsided apple of his heart, but mostly to escape from me in the back of his cab, a Puerto Rican lawyer in a suit and tie. I hated the 111 bus, sweltering in my suit and tie with the crowd on the aisle, waiting to hit a bump on the Mystic Tobin Bridge so my head would finally burst through the ceiling like a giraffe on a circus train. I hated the 111 bus after eviction day in Chelsea District Court, translating the landlords and judges into Spanish so the tenants knew they had to stuff their clothing into garbage bags and steal away again. Away from the 40-watt squint that followed them everywhere, that followed me because I stood beside them in court. I would daydream in the humidity of the bus, a basketball hero flipping the balled up pages of the law into the wastebasket at the office as the legal aid lawyers chanted my name. I hated the 111 bus. I had to take a taxi cab that day. "What the hell are you doing here?" said the driver of the cab to me in my suit and tie. "You gotta be careful in this neighborhood. There's a lot of Jose's around here." The driver's great-grandfather staggered off a boat so his great-grandson could one day drive me across the Mystic Tobin Bridge, but there was no room in the taxi for chalk and a blackboard. He could hear the sawing of my breath as I leaned into his ear, past the bulletproof barricade somehow missing, and said, "I'm a Jose." I could see the 40-watt squint in his rearview mirror. "I'm Puerto Rican," I said. It was exactly 5 p.m. and we were stuck in traffic in a taxi on the Mystic Tobin Bridge. The driver stammered his own West Side story without the ballet, how a Puerto Rican gang stole his cousin's wallet years ago. "You think I'm gonna rob you?" I said, in my suit and tie, close enough now to tickle his ear with the mouth of a revolver. I could hear the sawing of his breath. He still wanted to know what I was doing there. "I'm a lawyer. I go to court with all the Jose's," I said. Stalled traffic steamed around us, the breath of cattle in the winter air. Where you going for the holidays? The driver said. I thought about Christmas Eve in court, eviction orders flying from the judge's bench when tenants without legal aid lawyers or children old enough to translate the English of the summons did not answer to their names. Every year, the legal aid lawyers told the joke about the Christmas defense. Your Honor, it's Christmas. I said to the driver, I will be spending Christmas right here with my fellow Jose's. The driver shouted, What do you want me to do? Get out of this cab and jump off the bridge? We both knew what he meant. We both knew about Chuck Stewart, the last man to jump off the mystic Tobin Bridge. Everybody knew how Chuck drove his wife to Mission Hill after birthing classes, the flash and pop in the dark when he shot her in the head and himself in the belly. Everybody knew how he conjured a black carjacker on the crackling call to 911, the way the Mercury Theater on the air conjured Martians in New Jersey on the radio half a century before. Everybody knew how 100 cops pounded on door after door in the projects of Mission Hill, locking a black man in a cage for the world to see like the last of his tribe on exhibit at the World's Fair. Everybody knew how Chuck would have escaped cashing the insurance check to drive away with a new Nissan, but for his brother's confession, the accomplice throwing the Gucci bag with makeup, the wedding rings, and the gun off the dizzy bridge in Revere. Everybody knew how Chuck parked his new car on the lower deck, left a note, and launched himself deep into the black water, how the cops hauled his body from the river by lunchtime when I walked into the office to tell the secretary Chuck Stewart just jumped off the mystic Tobin Bridge. I said nothing to the driver. I almost nodded yes. In the rearview mirror, I confess, for a flash, I wanted him to jump. The driver, the cops, the landlords, the judges, all wanted us to jump off the mystic Tobin Bridge. All wanted us to sprout gills like movie monsters so we could paddle underwater back to the islands, down into the weeds and mud at the bottom, past the fish-plucked rib cages of the dead, the rusty revolvers of 1,000 crimes unsolved, the wedding rings of marriages gone bad, till we washed up on shore in a tangle of seaweed, gasping for air. Last night, still more landed here. Clothing stuffed in garbage bags to flee the god of hurricanes flinging their houses into the sky, or the god of hunger slipping his knife between the ribs. Not a dark tide like the tide of the mystic river, but builders of bridges. You can walk across the bridges they build, or you can jump.
Thank you very much, Professor Espada, for sharing that powerful poem with us. Its themes resonate strongly with some of the challenges that legal aid faces daily. No one, however, can better express the challenges that legal aid works to address than those who have been helped by the legal aid. I am a living testimony of this fact.
Throughout its 70-year history, Community Legal Aid has supported tens of thousands of people.
This is one of the way out for a lot of folks that don't have the means to go and hire a lawyer. This is needed. Truly, this is so much needed. There are a lot of people out there that need that help.
And I had no one else to turn to. A lot of attorneys did not do cases like this anymore.
I was having problems getting housing because of my quarry. And plus I wanted to declare my quarry since I've been out of trouble for like 13 years already.
Community Legal Aid was instrumental in helping me navigate my food stamp process. I was going through a divorce. And as things got more and more aggressive with the divorce, I also was able to use them to help with being in court, dealing with the process of negotiating. It's just a time of just extreme stress. And so having support and having kind of guidance through that process is incredibly helpful.
Gracias al gran esfuerzo de mi abogada, en aquel momento pude obtener mi U-Visa. Con el paso del tiempo me mantuve en comunicación con mi abogada para que después me ayudaran con el proceso de mi residencia. Gracias a todos ellos, hoy en día estoy en camino a la ciudadanía. Sin la ayuda y dedicación de ellos, no estaría legalmente en este país. Muchas gracias a todos los abogados que se empeñan en ayudar a cada inmigrante.
After becoming unemployed due to issues stemming from military service-related PTSD, Jack was at the risk of losing their home. Community Legal Aid worked to help Jack receive appropriate compensation from the military and worked with the lender to bring monthly payments within their means.
And I just remember how understanding and compassionate the Community Legal Aid representatives were, just saying, yeah, that's why we're here.
Joel relied on a team of personal care attendants, PCAs, to live independently. But his insurance provider wouldn't pay for the extra time he needed for the PCA to help him eat. Feeling desperate, Joel turned to Community Legal Aid. Joel's attorney quickly crafted a sound and innovative legal argument for Joel's case, which won at appeal. Joel says she made a quick and dramatic difference. She did an amazing job.
We had a lot of people helping us out tremendously.
She went above and beyond, to be honest. I got my rent adjusted and I got a housing voucher through Section 8, all from Community Legal Aid.
CLA helped Crystal and her son obtain housing. She explains, I had a criminal history that followed me into my recovery. Decisions I made during active addiction were holding me back from accessing affordable housing which I needed to better my life for myself and for my son. Without the decision to appeal my denials and the courage that my recovery has given me, I would not have this beautiful apartment to live and raise my child in. I will forever be grateful to CLA for walking side by side with me during this process.
Soy de El Salvador y tuve un caso de inmigración muy complejo. Siendo un trabajador agrícola, me preocupaba encontrar un abogado que yo no pudiera pagar. Me comuniqué con Community Legal y gracias a ellos ahora soy residente legal. Pude reunirme con mi familia, con todos mis hijos, gracias a ellos, y yo estoy muy agradecido.
They were like a family to me. They were very helpful. They were able to guide me through everything. I needed that support, and that support I was able to get from Community Legal Aid.
My son is in a new placement in a new school. He's actually in one of the best autism classrooms in Worcester, and he is doing amazing. The staff is great, the classroom is structured, it provides everything that he needs to actually function and learn.
After a brain injury, Michael was fired from his job, but his employer claimed he had quit voluntarily. Community Legal Aid helped him file an appeal of his denial of unemployment benefits. Michael appreciates the work that CLA has done on his behalf and said that the unemployment benefits have helped him tremendously, as he is now able to pay for food and pay his bills. Lori was working 2 full-time jobs to support her children and make payments on her mortgage. When her home was illegally foreclosed on and sold at auction, she had 48 hours to leave. CLA helped Lori overturn the eviction and keep her home.
A lot of people out there probably was in my same situation. They don't even know how to get information like I got. I feel like I was blessed because it actually saved my life, to be honest. I don't know what I really don't know what I don't want to be homeless like that.
It was almost as if I had a megaphone. The lawyer was my megaphone, and they were able to hear. I didn't feel like a whisper screaming out to people. It really helped me a lot. It did.
Hi, my name's Todd Rodman, and I'm proud to serve as president of the Board of Directors of Community Legal Aid. I want to thank each of you for participating in our celebration of 70 years of fighting for justice. Thank you to Martín Espada for your moving reading. Your poem resonates with many of us on so many levels. I also want to thank Maura Healey both for your inspiring remarks and for this celebration, and also for your invaluable partnership with Community Legal Aid over the years. I especially want to take a moment to thank our former clients who shared their voices and stories to remind us of the transformational impact Community Legal Aid can have on the lives of those we serve. Now, multiply those voices by 7,000 and you get a sense of the impact Community Legal Aid has made in our community over the past year. A year that has been more challenging for our clients, for our staff, for all of us than any year I can remember. How did we do it? How are we doing it? How are we continuing to weather the storm that COVID has unleashed across our region, across the globe? I think the client voices we just heard have answered that question. Community. By coming together as a community, we're supporting each other in ways that make a real difference. We are working together so that families don't become homeless. Children don't go hungry, and survivors don't stand alone. We're working together to ensure that children get an education, elders live with dignity, and veterans are supported. Our incredible staff is fighting every day to close the justice gap and to secure life's necessities for those most in need. Finally, I want to thank you, our supporters. We depend on the support of each and every one of you to continue our fight for justice. Like you, I'm incredibly proud to support Community Legal Aid, and I ask you to join me in pledging your continued support of our important work in honor of 70 years of fighting for justice. Thank you.